That's pretty much it.
Yeah. Joel, doing karate growing up was very similar. We had white belt, then we had yellow belt, then we had blue, green, brown, and there was another brown, and then a third brown, and then black, right? Sometimes there was what we call a shodan ho, which was kind of a junior black belt or intermediate black belt, and like decided, and then it was black belt. So really we're looking at ultimately about 9-10 ranks. Almost every karate, taekwondo, and every one of those stand-up systems has about 8 to roughly 10.
Yep.
Now, some systems don't. Some systems in the old karate days, it was white belt, brown belt, black belt. That was it. You were either beginner, intermediate, or you were advanced, and that was it.
Yeah.
It takes a long time to do that. So let's talk a little bit about that real quick. Guys, I think it's important for us to realize that if there's a purpose for a test, and it's not driven by money, and it's not restricted by competition, then what's the purpose of the test? Again, for the student. The student needs to measure. We want to measure in a reasonable, predictable way that helps people to feel like, I've gotten this far. All right. For our kickboxing program, there's only 4 basic punches: jab, cross, hook, and uppercut. It's pretty simple. There's only 4 basic kicks: front kick, back kick, side kick, and round kick. There's only 4 basic ways to defend, and everything else are variations of those moves, with jumping, with spinning, with combos, with angles, with circling, and ultimately with footwork, to include forms of head movement, right? Fading away, ducking, dodging, those types of things. Yes. And then we start getting into advanced techniques. So after you get up the basic 4 basic punch, 4 basic kicks, you still got elbows. We do a lot of elbows. We do a lot of knees. Spinning kicks and so forth. Things that are, they're just advanced moves is the best way for me to put it. My job as an instructor, and basically Joel's job, he's executing a program that has been built and handed down for decades, maybe millennia, right? His job as the primary instructor is to make sure that, hey, look, kids, you got to be able to do the 4 basic punches, 4 basic kicks, 4 basic ways to block, and you got to be able to fight just to make yellow belt, to get the first promotion. Yeah. And that could be white belt with a stripe if that's your system, but your first promotion is just pretty simple. By the time that you make black belt, by the time that an individual makes black belt, we have to really ask ourselves, first of all, what does that even mean? What does black belt even mean? Well, in many systems, black belt means you are a master, an expert of basic information.
Yep.
What if it meant I was the master of everything? There'd be nothing left to learn.
Right.
So we have different ranks above first degree black belt. In most systems, it's somewhere between 7 and 10 ranks up to 10th degree black belt. Sometimes there's other titles associated with that, master, grandmaster, and so forth. The Japanese system has sensei, shihan, renshi, soke, and those types of things, relatively speaking. Yeah. I will tell you guys that, in my opinion, for me, as a director of this company, my job is to make an assessment of who can come in on day one with no real training and just fight a little bit. And then about halfway through the program, somewhere in the neighborhood of about probably green belt, purple belt, are they intermediate? Can they do way more than these guys, but they aren't teaching yet? Or if they are teaching, they're really just kind of trainers. They're kind of coaching a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then at black belt level, what are you really doing? Has your focus changed? Are you still trying to be the best fighter? Maybe so. But at that point, you're really trying to preserve the art. You're really trying to teach. So you got to be teaching. So my opinion is you have a lot to still learn once you make black belt. And there's 10 ranks of that. I am at 6th degree black belt. And most people are like, whoa, 6th degree black belt, that's really high. What are you having to do to make 6th degree black belt? Well, ironically, I expose myself to every system that I can. Like I said, I had black belts in, karate, as well as, now as a kickboxing instructor. I'm the instructor here. In kickboxing, it's slightly different. I've been exposed to judo, jiu-jitsu, Filipino stick and knife fighting. I've done a little Aikido. I've done a lot of different things. I try to expose myself to more stuff, and then I'm trying to assimilate what's good. That's really what I try to do.
Man, you do it awesomely.
Well, I appreciate that. So once we have a system of technical information, we have to decide what we're going to teach. Now, If you've ever gone to college and you've looked at that big book, that's the book that they give you when you first walk in the door for your registrar. They say, these are the classes you could possibly take. The first thing you do is you pick a major.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to be a history major, you're probably not going to need a lot of biology classes. Does that make sense?
Agreed.
So if I want to be a kickboxer, and that's all I want to do, I just want to be a fighter. I'm just a cage fighting, kickboxing, K1 kind of guy. I just want to hit hard with my knuckles and kick hard with my feet and not get knocked out. That's my thing. Do you really need a lot of throws and takedowns? Probably not. Kind of think about that. You kind of are picking your major, so to speak. And again, Taekwondo is a major. Japanese karate would be a major. Okinawan Kempo or Chinese Kempo would be a major. Kung Fu would be a major. Jiu-Jitsu, specifically Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, would be a major. Mm-hmm. And there would be some other majors in there that, if you like the Japanese martial arts, you still got other things, Kendo and Aikido and all these other things. If you're a Korean martial artist and you're not doing Taekwondo, maybe you're doing Hapkido or you're doing Taekyon or one of these other really cool things. Kuksowan or even Hwarangdo is another, all these great Korean arts. Yeah. You kind of pick your thing and you try to get good at it. You could also choose to major in as many things as possible. So, for example, I believe we got to have a stand-up art.
Yep.
Karate, boxing, kickboxing, Taekwondo, these things, right? Mm-hmm. You got to have a stand-up art. Whatever that is, let's make sure we have that. And then let's have what are we going to do on the ground? This is our Sambo, Judo, Jiu-Jitsu, Greco-Roman wrestling. These are ground arts. And then maybe you even have a weapon art. For me, I've chosen the Filipino martial arts. I've done a lot of longbow, long staff. I've done tonfa, I've done sai, I've done nunchaku. Joel, I know you've done, half a dozen different weapons.
Everything you said, besides sai.
Okay.
Sai.
And again, some people, maybe they want sword. Whatever it is that you pick, you've got a weapon, probably, you've got a stand-up art, you've got a ground art. Mm-hmm. Here's the deal, guys. At some point, a person that stays in the martial arts long enough has to make a decision what he's going to do. Those people that want to teach become instructors or trainers. Joel is both an instructor, which means he's teaching the material, and he's a trainer, which means that he's going beyond just teaching it, but he's training people so that they build up the necessary strength, speed, power. He's not just teaching the technique and you're on your own. He's actually holding the mitts and he's holding a heavy bag and he's working as like a professional trainer. He's doing that now. You're going to need to kind of pick your specialization. The people that don't want to be instructors and don't want to be trainers, you could be a fighter. Mm-hmm. The fighter track is interesting because I have seen a lot of people that enter the UFC as a blue belt or a purple belt in jiu-jitsu, and they do great.
Yeah, absolutely.
That tells me, holy cow, either this guy is amazing and doesn't require the rest of his training up to black belt because he's already winning as a blue belt or a purple belt, or maybe they have chosen not to promote as often, which is fine. That's how they do it. That's them, and that's their thing. I want you guys to know and understand clearly that whatever rank that you have, whatever your specialization is, whatever track that you're going on, isn't necessarily the same for everybody.
I agree.
I'll tell you that I have trained great martial artists in my life. I've got one gentleman who's down in South Carolina who I personally trained since he was 16. He now runs his own school, very successful. He is an international competitor in judo. He trains international competitors, and he's just an amazing, phenomenal human being with an amazing and phenomenal following. He has told me, and I've always known, he's got no desire to be in the cage. It's just not his thing. He's an instructor. Now, he still competes in judo, but it's different than being in the cage. It's very different. It's a very different experience. I think that if you're a wrestling competitor and you want to go from high school wrestling to collegiate wrestling and then maybe even go into professional wrestling, but you never get in the cage, that's fine. That is a track. Yeah. But I will also tell you that we're going to test our people based on a fundamental concept that we are self-defense driven with an ultimate goal of either being a fighter or an instructor. And we're going to do that approximately every 90 days. So when you're kind of looking at that, you can divide up the ranks and the material accordingly.
Yep.
So if we want to get a guy from white belt to the very first rank, we need somewhere in the neighborhood of about 4 or 5 techniques punching, 4 or 5 techniques kicking, 4 or 5 techniques blocking, and he's got to be good at it, and he's got to be able to defend his life with just that, or we don't promote him. Like Mr. Fountain said, there's a physical fitness requirement. There are people nowadays that can't do one push-up. They just can't, and it's okay. When you come to us, we're going to teach you how to do that, and we're going to train you, and you're going to do that because we want you to have a physical advantage as well as a skill advantage in self-defense. The last thing that I want to say, and we're 37 minutes into this, and I think this has been a great conversation, is that when people look at me or look at Joel or look at my students and they ask weird questions, all I can do is just kind of sigh. They're like, how is it possible that the head instructor, yours truly, wears a black and red belt? Some people call it the coral belt. How is that possible? Well, I'm 51 years old. I started when I was 11. That's 40 years of experience. I've been in the cage. I've been in the ring. I fought tough man. I fought point karate. I've actually used this kind of thing in self-defense as a law enforcement officer. And in addition to that, I have fought in combat as an officer in the United States Army. And I've trained soldiers the whole time, combatives. I've trained them in, firearms. And, over 40 years, you gain a certain amount of information. But everybody doesn't know that. They just see the color of my belt and they think, oh my God, this guy's got the coral belt, the black and red belt. It's just a crazy thing. Guys, I don't care. I really don't care how you feel about my rank. Get in the ring with me and I'll show you what I can do, and I'll do so in a loving and respectful way. Unless for some reason you don't want to be loving and respectful, in which case, we just have a good time in there doing whatever we do. I'll meet you on the mat for jiu-jitsu. I'll meet you in the ring for kickboxing, and I'll meet you in the cage for kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, MMA style. I'll be happy to do that. I'll meet you on the firearms range. If you want to shoot, we'll be glad to shoot targets. But the bottom line is that it doesn't matter what rank I'm wearing. What matters is, what do I have here? Knowledge. And what can I teach? And ultimately, what's in my heart, what I can give. Now, let's say that you guys are happy with my rank. Y'all are fine with my rank. You don't care. Good. That's a step. It's a step in the right direction. I'd rather you ask me, what rank are you? Instead of me saying, well, I'm a 6th degree black belt. And you look at me sideways like, not a whole lot of those walking around that claim to be kickboxing instructors and jiu-jitsu instructors. Why not ask me how many years I've been doing this? Well, if you want to look at my total training time, I'm 40 years in. It was roughly 1993 when I started jiu-jitsu. So 93 to 03 is 10 years, to 13 is 20 years, to 2023, which is next year, that's 30 years I've been doing just jiu-jitsu. Ground fighting, arm locking, choking, throwing jiu-jitsu. Real deal. And I've worked with, I've worked with a number of folks. And I've trained personally with Frank Shamrock. I've trained personally with the Gracies. I've trained personally with a number of people that are either pro or semi-pro. Heck, one of our students is Ash the Archer Bowman, and he was a professional MMA fighter out of the Lion's Den. I don't claim to be his instructor, so to speak. My instructor trained him, but the bottom line is we got real deal guys.
Yep.
So when you look at our students, and you're like, our belt system is way different than that. What are all these different colored belts? I've chosen to train and test in a certain way. So if you see a guy that's a yellow belt, and you don't understand our training system, and you're like, oh, that's not legit. What does the color of the belt have anything to do? Whether you're a white belt with the black stripe, you've been tested once, or whether you're a white belt that goes to yellow belt, you've been tested once, you've been tested one time. You've got the basic fundamental knowledge after one test. It doesn't necessarily matter what belt they're wearing. Joel mentioned that in Taekwondo, there are not only regular color belts, but then there's a stripe belt in between. We don't really stripe anybody. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu does tend to stripe a lot of people. You might have 1 stripe, 2 stripes, 3 stripes in between each rank.
Yep.
And then you might be in the white belt category for maybe 2 years.
Absolutely. I mean, every martial art's different. They've got some sort of pacing there, but I think as professionals and as experienced martial artists, we recognize that rank isn't the end-all, be-all. It's what can you do on the mat? What can you do in the cage? What can you do in the ring? You can be a grandmaster instructor and you can claim that you're a 9th degree, 8th degree, but I mean, how many lives have you impacted? How many people have you reached out and touched and had shown the beauty of martial arts and allowed that to change people's lives? And that's what I mean whenever I say martial arts, and the term and the actual respect and honor that comes along with being a black belt is it's not just how much you can punch and kick, it's how many people have you inspired and built confidence and changed their lives for the better.
Yeah.
Sometimes people will try martial arts and they may just earn their black belt and then that's it. They got what they needed out of the martial art.
I've seen it all the time.
And they go on to be doctors, lawyers, or very successful people. And then some people, it sticks with them. And they have that gift and they have that knack and they just have to keep sharing and sharing. And we've got that bug. It's on us forever. And
it's a choice. It's our way.
Yes.
It's our way of life.
Yes.
Guys, I'll tell you that when you're looking at training, and I spoke to Joel about this earlier, which spontaneously kind of led us to this now 43-minute video. Some people come in here and they want to know how long until I blank. Joel, fill in the blank. What does people say? How long till I something? What have people asked you when it comes to rank?
Well, if you want to graduate to your next belt, it's 90 days.
Yeah.
Within that time, As you progress and as you get to around brown belt, then you can't fit the same amount of advanced knowledge in 90 days as you would from yellow belt to orange belt.
So what do we do since we can't give, the guy makes purple belt, he wants to go to brown belt. Does he just have to wait longer?
I think so.
So
just wait. Just put the time in.
So there's more class time.
Yep.
But then it falls back to guys like Joel and I and my instructor back home and also other affiliate instructors that I'm really close with. We say the same things. We look at somebody and we say, he ain't ready. He's a great brown belt. Guy's a great brown belt, but he's not ready. And then we start asking, well, crap, Joel, you said he's not ready. I agree he's not ready. What do we need to do with that guy? We got to sharpen him up so that his technique is better. That's always difficult. Once you become an advanced rank, getting way better, the curve looks kind of like this. You're brand new in the school and white, yellow, orange belt is just a great climb. And then it starts to kind of level off and you're no longer getting these big, high points. It just is slow growth over time. Mm-hmm. So once we sharpen somebody up, that's pretty good. But then there's a physical fitness capability. Guys, if you can't easily do 50 push-ups without stopping, you don't make brown belt. You don't make brown belt. We find a way to train you, to get you ready, to prepare you to just do that physical piece. And here's kind of why I say that. So like, well, guys, Curtis, what if a guy's only got one arm and he can't do 50 push-ups? How many push-ups can you do one-handed? Can you do 5? If you can do 5 on day 1, let's get you to 10. Mm-hmm. If you can do 10, let's get you to 15. The bottom line is we look at your capability, and then we start making adjustments, and we say, he's ready. Yeah. He's ready. I'll tell you guys one of the things Joel mentioned earlier about cross-grading and training. I bring a guy onto my team or a gal onto my team. They want to train with me, or maybe they want to be an instructor and they want to work here. I start assessing immediately. Number one, do they know anything? Some people, they don't know anything. I kind of have to start from ground zero and say, at least you kind of have an idea what some kicks are, but your kicks are way different than my kicks. Your punches are way different from my punches, and we have a system. We'd like you to kind of make some adjustments. Then I look at their physical fitness. You come in my school and you say you're a black belt and you can't do 5 push-ups. You are a physically weak person, and you are ultimately going to be at a great disadvantage.
Yep.
So we start that point, and we start getting you better day by day. Even if it's just 1 push-up, we get you better. Then I start looking at, well, can you fight? And when Joel Foundry came in, he already knew how to fight. He was already a phenomenal kicker. He was already an excellent puncher. I put your kicks above your punches just a little bit, but you were already an excellent puncher. And his ability to defend was really strong. When I fight a person, personally, I am assessing how hard can I hit them is the question. And if I'm hitting you lightly and you look afraid, I don't hit you hard. If I hit you lightly and you hit me back lightly, but there's some poise, there's confidence there, then I raise it up a little bit and I hit a little harder. And then you hit me harder. And then we start kind of nodding and there's this mutual respect between us. And then ultimately you get to the point where, you know what, I got to hit this person pretty stinking hard. I got to see. And I want to see, do you take the blow or do you deflect the blow or do you completely evade the blow? In other words, do you absorb it? Do you block it and stag defense? Or do you dodge it in some way? Mm-hmm. And I know then, if I've punched you or kicked you with 80, 90% of my power, and I kick and punch pretty hard,
yep,
I know that you're already well-trained, physically well-trained in your technique, and your mind is right. You're not terrified that, holy crap, what if somebody really hits me hard? So when I tested you, for example, one of the things that I did is I said, I've already fought Joel. I've already fought him. I mean, I know he's tough. So I set him up against, I think he had 7, was it 7? I think it was 7 back-to-back fights. I think 7.
For the first one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was 7 back-to-back fights, maybe 8. Yeah. And I just kept putting people on him with no break. First guy, and it might be a white belt that he's fighting. He's going to win against the white belt, of course, but they tire him. Mm-hmm. Throw the white belt on him. Let's throw the guy that's been here, 6 months. Let's throw the guy that's been here a year. Let's throw the guy that's been here 3 years. And then ultimately, Joel should be getting tired. And Joel maintained poise and discipline and gave a commiserate amount of power in his technique back to that individual without hurting anybody, stopping them, slowing them, and in some cases, pounding them as needed. And that's how I made my assessment. So when it came time for a second degree black belt, I was kind of scratching my head. What am I going to do about that? The answer is simple. I put more people on him, tougher people, and I made him fight as hard as I could. Sometimes I put two people on him at one time, or I would just keep sending people until he was running around fighting basically a mob. Mm-hmm. And it was a lot of fun to watch. But guys, listen to me carefully when I say, I don't think Joel's going to care if I give him 3 more ranks in kickboxing or give him a black belt in jiu-jitsu. The rank isn't going to matter. He's got to be able to fight with it. He's got to be able to grab somebody and throw him, put him in an arm lock, or escape some other kind of defense, have some sort of defense against their attack on the ground. Then he's got to be able to duck, dodge, move, and then counterpunch, counterkick, or take them to task in kickboxing, or he gets beat. Not only does he get beat, which isn't the end of the world, I've been beat, but the bottom line is that he's got to be able to show that he can teach as well as train what he is doing on the mat. Guys, that's how we do business here.
Yep. Agreed.
Final comments.
I think that if you want a product that you can replicate over time, there has to be some standardizing, and not every class we teach is the same, but we do use the same basics and the same foundation for every class.
Sure.
So the quicker that you can master those, the quicker we can show you guys the more advanced and the more exciting stuff that you'd see in like movies or stuff like that.
Sure.
And we don't want to teach you movie magic stuff because on one hand it's not very practical, but then we want you to, like I said earlier, have that confidence. Like, okay, I actually can defend myself. I know that I can punch hard enough, elbow hard enough, knee or kick, whatever it takes for me to stop the fight, end the fight, or maybe create some space and escape to defend myself and my family. Regarding that, people want stuff now. We've lost that kind of time commitment, and we've lost that discipline of, okay, I have to put years in at a time, to earn this, and that's what I love about martial arts personally. It's delayed gratification. So it's not just you're not just going to come in and ask us for a belt and expect us to give to you. You have to prove yourself not only to us, but we really want to see that you recognize, like, okay, maybe this is why Curtis wanted me to wait. Maybe this is why Curtis wanted me to train that much longer.
Sure.
And so we're professionals for a reason. You know, we can tell you all day, you know, our accolades and our rank, but until you come in and see actually what our skill is like, then you may make the wrong choice and say something you should have, you know, which is, we all make mistakes, you know, but just try your best to know what you're talking about before, you know, you be an expert on it, you know. So if you want to see what we do, then come on and try. Sure. You know, come on and try. We're happy to teach. You know, we're very inviting, and we're obviously very passionate about martial arts. In my opinion, I think martial arts should be taught everywhere in the world.
Sure.
So at school, I think it should be required, you know, but martial arts isn't for everybody, and that's okay. I think everybody should try it just to see if it is for them. And if you try it and you like it and you think that, okay, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life, well, then get ready to buckle down and commit to it. You know, you can say that about martial arts, and you can say that about, I don't know, being a musician, for example, which I like to play guitar and stuff, and I can't just go on stage after a week of practicing, you know, or I'll make a fool out of myself.
Sure.
Know? So you got to put the time in. You have to grind. If you want something nice in life, you have to find people who have already done it. You need to find a mentor, and you need to try to emulate yourself after those people, and surround yourself with who you want to be ultimately. You know, you can have an idea in your head of like, okay, well,